now he's coming through.
So roll.
Photo op. Ruedi is a Vietnam veteran. He's been playing guitar around here for many years.
Okay.
And said he couldn't talk 4 years ago.
And this is his hot rod. All rebuilt by Weston. They made this guitar that's leaned against his car special for him. And those are the people that were involved in rebuilding this car for him.
Deuce Ferris from Northwest United Sports. He's the one that gets this thing organized. He's with all the business owners and the city officials and trying to get this thing planned and put together. So please put your hands together for a guy that does a phenomenal job, Vern Ferris. Thank you. I go back when I was on, I used to go out and turn out the satellite. He's been out here with us several years now. I'm trying to get the well, this year I got it. We had lunch one day, and I said, I'm going to bring Ron's truck out here, but it doesn't run. It hasn't been running for about 18 years. It's been in a barn. So he says, well, let's bring it over to my dealer and we'll get it running. And then he gets kind of carried away. I'll let Ron tell you what he did to it.
Actually, when I found out it hadn't ran for 18 years, I thought, well, we can probably get it running. So we trailered it to our shop. And between about 3 or 4 of our techs, in about 5 minutes, they had the motor running. And as light goes on, an emergency room, life support system, but it got running, and then the work began. And with the help of a lot of people like Competition Paint, Premier Auto Upholstery, and Vern himself, and a lot of the techs at our store, you have what you see here today. It's a beautiful 32 Ford, and it's ready to go cruising.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Enjoy.
A little bit of the history of that car goes back to 1954 when they made it. I don't know the original owner, but he was out of Washington. He made it into a dragster. It used to be called the old Green Hornet. It was called the Green Hornet. Had a Hemi in it, and he ran it in the drag strips with Puyallup and Woodburn all the way down to Irwindale and Lyons drag strip. From what I understand, it hit all the drag strips back in the 60s, and by 1968 he eventually took it off the drag racing scene. Finally the owner brought it down to Portland for the Portland swap meet. Well, John Ruedisil, for those who remember John Ruedisil, he used to own Vinnie's.
when he's down here on Sandy Boulevard next to the Wooden Chicken. Anyway, John Ruedi's family owned a mink farm up in Boring. He bought the car, and at that time, the only thing that was a car for drag racing, the body is welded onto the frame. So if you can do anything with that body, it has to be a frame and body all together. So the body and the frame are welded together. He bought the car, saw the movie American Graffiti, and kind of built it like the Graffiti Coupe. Nick Eklund was the next owner. Nick Eklund's family owns Heidi's, and Nick Eklund's got a picture of that car parked in front of the Mustang Ranch. Fitting for that car. After that, Steve Gattenbein owned the car, and then eventually Tom Ward owned it. It was sold in 1979 in September to John Villarreal, who owned the Union 76 on Burnside and Eastman, or Cleveland, and Burnside. And I was driving into the Satellite that night, and I saw that car for 6 seconds in September 1979, and I dreamt about that car for years. Well, it turned out that John Villarreal was into drag racing. He bought that car that day, took it to the gas station, realized it had a flat lobe on the cam, and he put it in storage that day for the next 7 years. I saw it that 6 seconds, and that was the only time I saw it. On Valentine's Day 1986, a friend of mine had told me that there was a 32 all-steel 32 coupe for sale. I looked back, and the nickel ads, we had to go back like 5 weeks to find the ad. It only ran 1 week. Called Jim Villarreal. He said some gentleman from Washougal was going to buy the car. Had already said that he was going to buy it. I said, well, has the money transacted yet? And he goes, no. I said, then the sale is not consummated. I still want to look at it. Well, at the time I was working at the Federal Building downtown. I left early, caught a bus, raced home, and went over to John's station. We went over to off Division, just before you go up the hill, by East Hill there, by the old railroad tracks. There's a used store. So we walked in there. There was all this furniture that was stacked over this vehicle that was on a trailer, had a tarp over it, but when he pulled the tarp back and I saw that radiator shell, I just about melted right there. So we got to dickering about it. I said, well, I don't even know that the car runs. He goes, well, I don't know. It hasn't run in 7 years. I said, well, what do you want? He said, I'll take 10 for it. I said, I'll give you 6. Well, we ended up at $79.95, and he wanted 8, and I said $79.95, and he goes, why $79.95? I said, so I could say I bought it for less than $8,000. He said, tell you what, give me $5 and I'll deliver it to your house for you. So we made it $8,000, and that was on Valentine's Day, 1986, when I bought that car. The last time it was out, I went to Petaluma for the American Graffiti Weekend a couple times, but they weren't doing it the annual that they're doing now. Drove it down to Phoenix, drove it to my 20 and 30 year class reunions, and down in Los Angeles, and cruised a lot. The last night it was out of, but the last night the Foster Street Drive-In was open. And so I had to go down to the Foster Street Drive-In one time before they closed it down and got to see George of the Jungle. I thought for the last night they could have had something better. But anyway, that was the last night that car was out in 1996, and it sat there in the barn. And once I got on duty, for those who know that I was with the Treasury Department, and once I got on duty with them, it was like 70, 80-hour weeks. So I never got a chance to get back to the car. And Vern had been approaching me quite often to put the car back out on the street and get it out. Finally, I just retired in January from the service, and he said, let's do it this year. So we went down to the barn, inflated the tires, rolled it out, cleaned some of the mice goof stuff out of there, rolled it down the driveway, and Jan Weston came down with his tip trailer. We loaded it up, and it's a totally different car than when it was loaded on that trailer. And all I got to say is thank you to Vern, and thank you to Jan and all your tech servants, because I'm going to be doing some serious cruising. Pat T would have been here. Pat T and I did a lot of cruising in that car too. So Pat's doing well, but he's got a heart condition and can't make it out. But I just got to tell you guys, and Weston, that car's the best it's ever looked. It really is, and I want to say thank you, because I'm going to do some serious cruising now. Every time I drive that car, I'm 17 years old.
All right, you heard it, Kim. Pat,
And no, the car's not for sale. I'm going to be buried in it. So, what you got to say for a car like that? You say it like this. Coupe. You don't know what I do, Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I got. Well, I'm not bragging, please don't put me down, but I've got fast food and pressure in town. When something comes up to me, she don't even try. The head of that wings, man, I know she can fly. She's my little Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I do, Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I got. It's a little Deuce Coupe with a 305. But she walk a Thunderbird like she's standing up there. She boarded and relieved me to a stroke down for 140 in the top of the floor. She's my little Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I do, little Deuce Coupe. So now I got the beach club, you got 4 on the floor. And you are here when the lake path roar. And in the name enough to make you live your way. Just one more thing I got to do. Coming off the line with the line trip. She blows about the water like you never seen. I give a shot of she, but she is hard to steal. But I can get her up and I don't forget. She's my little Deuce Coupe. You know what I do, little Deuce Coupe. You know what I got. She's got a got the beach clutch, got 4 on the floor. Man, you ought to hear in my lake path floor. And in the land enough to make you flip your head. One more thing I got to do. Coming off the line in the line. She blows them out of the water like you never seen. I give a shot of sheep, but she is hard to steal. But I beat her up and I don't forget. She's my little Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I do, little Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I got. She's my little Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I do, little Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I got. She's my little Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I do, little Deuce Coupe. You don't know what I got. Wow, little Deuce Coupe.